Hey everyone, welcome back to the Matt Taylor podcast. I am your host, Matt Taylor, and this is episode number 2 of the Matt Taylor podcast. First off, thank you all for the incredible support on the first episode. It has been amazing to see the response. And guess what, guys? We are just now getting started. So thank you so much for your support on episode 1. If you did miss episode 1, please go back and watch it. It will be right here on my YouTube channel. So please go back and watch episode number 1, where I had a great conversation and sit down conversation with my father, Matt Taylor. So thank you all so much for your support. Also, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast, the Matt Taylor podcast. Just hit that subscribe button right at the bottom of the screen here, right underneath the video. Please, I would greatly appreciate it if you all subscribe. That way you can get updates on future episodes and upcoming events that we're going to be having. Also, please like, comment, and share this podcast with someone. Please share this with someone. Definitely, this is going to be a podcast of inspiration, and we definitely want to inspire and help those along the way. So please share this podcast and like and comment for me, please. Thank you. I appreciate that in advance. Also, we are a sole proprietor podcast. I am funding this podcast all on my own. So if you would like to donate something to this podcast, it could be something small, it could be something big. We will greatly appreciate it. The Cash App will pop up on the screen as well, where you can donate something to the podcast. Today, everyone, I am so excited, because I have my good friend John Thomas joining me on today. John and I have been friends for a very, very long time, and in this episode, we're going to be diving into a wide range of topics, everything from current events and to personal stories. And we're definitely going to get some laughs in as well in this conversation. It's going to be a great conversation. So please sit back, relax, and let's jump right into it. All right, everybody, what's up? This is your boy Matt. Welcome back to the pod, the Matt Taylor podcast. I am joined with my good friend, my longtime friend, big brother, man, John Thomas, man, and I'm glad that you was able to join me, bro.
What's happening?
Man,
I'm happy to be here, bro.
this is going to be an exciting podcast, man, and I'm excited to just talk to you, bro, and just have candid convos, man, and just, that's what this podcast is about, man. It's just about having the candid conversations and just candid talk amongst brothers, amongst friends, Um, you're my second episode. So we're still working out some kinks with
Let's
the
do it.
technical side and everything like that, but we're gonna rock and roll, man. I'm glad. How you doing? First of all, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Everything good. Like I always say, man, on the grind like bad breaks, brother. I'm good, man. I'm trying to live and keep living, man.
That's what's up.
One day at a time, man. So, uh, churching and things of that nature, working and
Yep.
going home, man. Trying to take care of business at home,
hmm
man. Other than
Just
that,
celebrated. Just
just
celebrated a
chilling.
B-day a few
I
days
did,
ago.
man. Yeah, man. Turned 40, man. I'm in a 40 and up club now.
Woo!
40 and up,
40
brother.
and up, man. That's what's up,
Yeah.
man. That's what's up. How does it feel? Like did you wake up just feeling different? Like you're not going through no midlife crisis or nothing like that?
Nah, not yet. I feel like when I woke up, it was just like, man, I'm out of my 30s,
hmm
and it was an interesting ride in my 30s for sure. So it just
hmm
I was already having a different mindset in my last year at 39, and
hmm
so
hmm
just just shifting some things and trying to mature, and there's always room for growth. So
Right.
that's just what I was just been focusing on, just kind of keeping quiet. We usually I would just speak on certain things, but it's like, you know what, I'm gonna let that one slide. I just
hmm
speak when I need to speak, and
hmm hmm
just how I move is just totally different now
For sure.
from times past. But I mean, I enjoyed my 30s. They were cool. So now I'm just looking forward to these 40s and see what comes my way.
That's what's up, man. For y'all that don't know, I gotta read your bio. I'm gonna tell you my personal bio of you, but
For sure.
I gotta read a couple points out of your bio, man. This is Elder John Thomas, man. This is the elder, man. This is a preacher. This is my brother. He's a preacher, man, and accomplished musician, published author. He's the international young youth and young adult president for the Shield of Faith fellowships of churches. Um, Baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost, man, at the age of 11. Baptized at 7, man, and your mom and dad pastors. Your father is a bishop. Grew up in church, Merino Valley, stand up, Moval, where
You
we
know,
at?
Mobile was happening.
And man, he's musician, drummer. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm 8 years younger than you. So when I was a kid, when I was young, and just seeing you, my cousins, Galen, shout out to Galen, Galen
Four.
Cook, G4, all y'all, man, Stu and Will
Mm-hmm.
Burkhead and like
Yeah.
all y'all guys, bro. Like when I was a young kid and just watching out Leonard Jarman,
Leonard.
can't forget about my boy Leonard. Me and him actually went to the same high school, so I was able to see him, do his thing. But
Man.
yeah, Leonard Jarman and other guys, bro, like just y'all was like my inspiration, mine and others, like some of the other young cats like me and you got Elliot Garrett and you got like
Yeah.
some of the homies that that was in my age bracket. We always looked up to y'all, and all I could remember was like growing up, you were the pocket king. That's what they called you, Mr. Pocket Man. G4 used to tell me all the time, man, play the pocket like John, man. You gotta listen to John, watch John play and play the pocket, and just be in that pocket. You be in the pocket, you be all right. You be in the pocket, you be all right.
That's
So
where the money is.
that's where the money is at, man. And speak on that. Like, when did you start playing? Like, what got you in the playing? I know you grew up in church and that's like the natural thing. Just pick up some
Mm-hmm.
sticks, start tinkling on the keys or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
what pushed you into that?
So yeah, always started playing in church, and
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to sit next to the drummer when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. Go to the grew up in the PAW, and
Mm-hmm.
so we had district meetings, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was always seeing dope musicians, man. Like I don't care what nobody say, we had the dopest musicians.
Yep.
So especially on
Yep.
the West Coast,
Oh
man.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I always wanted to be like some of the guys that I looked up to, Jamie, Trey,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eastside, Eric C's, the names go on and on, man.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, I got into high school. I wanted to play in a jazz band. I didn't know nothing about jazz. I just wanted to play drums,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that I can do something with it. And then, of course, seeing our peers and our big brothers,
Mm-hmm.
they're on BET, MTV at the time. They playing for different artists. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And opening where I was able to play for certain artists from in the secular world and
Mm-hmm.
even in gospel too. But it was just fun. Like I
Yep.
just, but I had to transition from church, playing in church to playing R&B and hip hop, even jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Their approaches are different,
Yep.
and I learned early, like man, I was destroying songs because I just want to try to chop and do rolls and all kind of
Right.
madness, and it's
Right.
like that's not gonna work in these arenas. Like they want to hear the record.
Right.
And believe it or not, the dude that really shaped me in my drumming, his name is Jason Freeman.
Yep.
Jay Free told
OG.
me one time, he was like, listen to the radio and listen to everything. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, listen to what the bass player is doing, listen to what the keyboard player is doing, listen to the lyrics. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
listen to everything that's in the music. Don't just listen to the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And once I learned that and just playing parts and knowing, try to play the best of my ability to play the record,
Mm-hmm.
shoot, it took my playing to a whole nother level. And like I say, man, playing the pocket, it allowed me to make a lot of money. I
Yep.
made a lot of money
Yep.
in those arenas.
In those times it was decent money. It paid the bills, some bills. I kind of was in that like later on in my 20s, like mid 20s. That's when I started kind of playing like R&B and a lot of like clubs and lounges and stuff like that. And I had to transition too, bro. Like just even like playing for like backyard parties and stuff like that. It's like, man, you out here trying to play like the some of the R&B and hip hop songs, and you're sounding so churchy. So yeah, so I understand, but most musicians, what a lot of people don't realize, some people do, but most musicians, like successful musicians that are in the secular world, they have come from church, and when we were growing up, I know when I was growing up, and I know you probably were the same, it was very much frowned upon for a church musician to be playing in the clubs, playing in the lounges, going on tour. How did you navigate that, like still being able to be in church and like playing some nights in the clubs or whatever, but how was you able to navigate that?
So when I really started doing it, started going hard, like I was playing at spots like Jazz Cafe and
Mm-hmm.
Sevilla's, and I was playing at Crescent Jewels. I'm playing at the
Mm-hmm.
Savoy. I'm playing at so many different spots in LA. I'm just all over. And I really, when I started promoting what I was doing, I had my own band and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
And
I remember.
same time, promoting like, man, we gonna be at church on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So, so it confused a lot of people,
Right,
and they're like, "How are you playing in the clubs and then at church on Sunday?"
right, right.
And like, it's my job. I'm like, this is what I do for a living right now. And
Mm-hmm.
my dad's a pastor. You know what I'm saying? And I keep it in a buck. I was like, Dad, what do you think about me playing in the clubs? And
Mm-hmm.
not only just Dad, like, Pastor, what do you think about me playing in the clubs?
Right.
And he asked me straight up, he was like, what's holy about me working at the VA hospital? Because my father worked at the VA hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Like, nothing that I know of. And he was like, exactly. He was like, you there to make a living? He was like, I'm at the VA hospital to make a living and I go home. He
Mm-hmm.
just said the most important thing is to make sure that your nose is clean. That's the phrase that he used. He like,
Nose
make
is
sure that
clean of multiple different things.
uh, that when your name come up, that is it's not in the mud.
Mm.
Make sure that your name is clean. Baby mama dramas, you ain't got no baby mamas, you're not on drugs. Like he went
Mm-hmm.
down a whole lot of list of things that I wasn't doing. Now to keep it a buck, there was some stuff that I was still doing that wasn't necessarily right. Being a single person at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so trying to talk to all the girls and things of that nature. Um, that just more so just I'm here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love music. I understand that, and there was a a point where they me too, in my studies and
Mm-hmm.
ministering to me that I can minister to people. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to a place where when church people was like really chopping me up, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
if me playing in the club is bothering you, I can step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And out of pride, I did that for a year. You God like hit me upside my head. And what I mean by that is he was like, you're like Moses. I was like, what you mean? I'm like, breaking the tablets and stuff like that, which God gave him. Like God opened these doors for me to not only pay my bills, but I was in there being a light. Like pastors put me to the side was like, they had questions. These same pastors didn't know that. I saw some of their members in them spots. that weren't even going to church, and it actually gave me an opportunity to be like, hey, you going to church tomorrow? Or especially if it was on a Saturday, you going to Sunday school tomorrow? Like
Right.
that will blow your high real quick because you see certain people, but at the same time, it's like, man, I know you ain't been in church in a minute. Like you turned
Mhm.
all the way up. So I had abilities to share light. Like I
Mhm.
had to introduce the band, and it caused me to get away from fear of speaking in front of people. Just setting me up for where I am today. But
Right.
I'm speaking in front of people, introducing people, making business decisions where private parties and or do you do birthdays and weddings, things of
Mhm.
that nature. Like things are opening up for me. Artists, um, they knew me as the church dude, the church kid. You know what I'm saying? Like they knew who I was.
Mhm.
There's promoters, believe it or not. There was one promoter, I won't mention his name, but he asked me to pray inside the club.
Wow.
So is telling you to pray before any festivities.
None.
You want me to do what?
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm gonna pray in Jesus' name and go on about my business. But I established relationships with people, not knowing that some of the people that was in there, they were church hurt.
Mhm. Mhm.
They were looking for church. They were anybody even look for church. They was looking for God,
Mhm.
and God had always opened doors for me to be in these dark places.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take the light everywhere I go.
Yep.
Did I do everything right? Nah,
Right.
but I made sure I took light with me everywhere I went, and um, and it was like you lost your clientele, you lost your connection with the people. I opened these doors for you, and you allowed the saints to
Mhm.
discourage you
Mhm.
back into it. But it was just like it wasn't too late, but my season was over when I did that. But I mean, I invited people to church. I didn't send people to churches. They got saved.
Mhm.
Like my fruit speaks for itself. Um, and doing what I was doing, I was particular of certain songs that I played.
Mhm.
Um, very conscious of that. But I just learned after a while, like certain things don't need to be posted, don't need to
Mhm.
be shared. Like I'm gonna just do work from behind the scenes. And to this day, I got respect from promoters, from people that I met in those areas. Uh, I know some that are now ministers that I
Mhm.
met in these places.
Wow.
But there's no telling what would have happened if I didn't go, if I didn't participate, if I didn't play for these different artists. There's one artist, I don't mention his name, that I was playing for. He
Mhm.
grew up in the PAW, and he's well known.
Mhm.
And he was high as a kite. And I just said, "You remember them council days?" And he sobered up for a moment.
Right.
Yeah, he started talking about how him and his brothers they used to call Little Boy Wonder because he played the keys
Mhm.
for this particular council. And I'm just like person to I'm trying to bring you back to Jesus one way or another. That
Mhm.
was always been my thing.
Mhm.
So
That's what's up because that's different. And you said something that was cool. That was really like true in a sense of like some of the things that you were doing in those arenas or in those spots. Um, kind of like you can kind of take your experience from being in church and utilizing it in those spaces, and then sometimes you'll learn things in those spaces to where you can actually bring it into church, dude. Like I still like some of the things that done in my past have helped me be able to like get up in front of people and talk. You know what I'm saying? Like and do what I do now. You know what I'm saying? And just like with my job that I work, the organization of like how I used to do programs for the council and the young people and for like being the youth pastor at my church and stuff like that, some of those lessons and things that I've organization skills that I learned in church, I use on my job now. You know what I'm saying? Like how to run a team, how to prepare for certain shows and stuff like that, or whatever I have to do, projects or whatever. And it's everything kind of runs hand to hand, bro, hand in hand. And it's like, I appreciate your dad for telling you that, because so many of ministers and pastors, especially in your dad's generation, oh man, what? Dude, that conversation would not be had.
They ain't want to tell it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like that um, where it's more tradition than anything. It's
Mhm.
not Bible,
Mhm.
you know. It's like are lawful, but not expedient.
Mm.
Like there's some things where you have freedom, and you know your liberties. You know what you can do, what you can't do.
Mhm.
Like again, I can go into them places. Like the thing for me, I didn't like it. So or lounge is not going to affect my spirit or me
Right.
because that's not my temptation. That is
Mhm.
not what I'm drawn to. It's not going to bother me. But for somebody else, it's like, yo, you don't need to be in the clubs. And I used to
Mhm.
hear people, we used to hear preachers say like in the nightclubs and this, that, and the other. And it's like, in the sense of spiritually, where you at mentally, because some people can't handle it. I like,
Mhm.
not trying to segue, but I like scary movies.
Mhm.
In movies, it just you got to know yourself and what you can handle. So I mean, I appreciate that conversation that I had with him, and yeah, I was getting cooked for sure. Like there was pastors that weren't really messing with me like that.
Mhm.
Um, it is, man. Like to way through,
Yeah.
and
And and definitely, like, I just on my end, just growing up, I know it was very discouraging, bro. Like, you'll be like, man, I'm just trying to make some money, or I'm trying to do this, or and a lot of times we're the gospel musicians or the church musicians are really the only ones that can really hold down certain situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trained to, like, really, play, and we're in, bro. This just happened to me not too long ago, and I promise you, it's the first time I played keys in a church. Slady got up, testimony service, got up and was singing in the key of like G, and I'm just like, whoa, like, what am I supposed to do right? What am I supposed to do right here? And but that, like, those little things like that taught me how to, like, when I am in those other situations, to be like, be prepared, be ready, because you just never know. Open mic nights and stuff like that, like hearing a song real quick before the artist goes up, to be like, hey, can you play this? Boom, all right, boom. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, everything runs hand in hand, bro. Runs hand in hand. But and you still playing too, man. I still see you posting up, man. 40 years old, still hitting them sticks, brother.
play on Sundays, and
Yep.
I a man cave or I hide in there sometimes. I'm actually in a glass box, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday. So yeah, I haven't done anything secular in a good minute, especially after
Mm.
the pandemic.
Oh
It
yeah.
was a wrap.
Yeah. For me too. For
So
me
I
too.
haven't done anything. I just been playing drums at church or a convention or anything like that. I'm doing that. Outside of that, church now
I
playing.
got you. My producer, my sound engineer said you got to speak up a little bit louder. Um, but anyway, man. So let's
Come on,
transition. Huh, go ahead. What'd you say?
checking 1 2. Am I good in there? Am I good in the house?
I think you good now. I think you good. Um, One thing about us, bro, like growing up in the IE, like we were able to see a lot, right? Get to learn a lot just from being from SoCal. Um, how was your coming up? Like your church kid, PK, you know, what high school did you go to? You went to Mobile? Okay. I thought you did. I thought you did. So like how was that? That's right, because y'all was right around. That's right. That's right. How was your growing up, man? How was like coming up in a PK household?
It was cool. My dad he gave us a good balance. What I mean by that, like we did stuff that was deemed hellbound. Not only that, to play basketball. So I did NJB, did all net. So I did travel ball AAU,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the games was on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, when I was 7, high school. So I missed a lot of Sunday morning church
Mm.
services.
Mm.
So I wasn't in church like that.
Yeah, because
Bible.
MJB back then played on Sundays.
There was a lot of church services that I missed. Um, say for Bible study, but outside
Mm-hmm.
of that, I went in church. I was literally at the gym 11:45. The game's at 11:45, or the 10 o'clock game. Prime time service started at 11. I
Mm-hmm.
went there,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like that till we start doing night games.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, elementary, middle school, going into high school, I went in church like that. But I would go to church conventions. I would
Mm-hmm.
go to the youth conventions and things of that nature. I did those things. I participated. Um, Honest man. Went to theme parks. The in a sense. Um, Now I couldn't go to teen nights at the club at Club Cadillac.
That's comedy. Hey,
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I see something on Instagram. Somebody posted something like, "This generation will never know how teen clubs were back then." That's comedy. That's comedy.
But I'll tell you this: I snuck one time and got caught too. Uh, I was supposed to be spending that at the homie's house, the homie Dave, and we were determined to go to teen night at Cadillac, and we went, and boy, we got in trouble when we came back home. His dad was waiting on us. It was all bad.
That's
But
comedy.
the only team that we can go to is if it was ran through the schools. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember back in the day, Landmark, when I was in middle school, Landmark used to have teen nights.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents used to take us there. So we would go to the teen nights there. So it was like, man, I was able to go to school dances. Um,
It's like I can go to all this stuff, but I can't go to the to the teen
Club
clubs.
though, nah, I can't go to the club. That was out. Um, Let me see. We was pretty balanced.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, they lived a life to where they practice what they preach.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, did they have issues? Yeah, most definitely. But seeing the behind the scenes as a pastor's kid and seeing how they live their life,
Mm-hmm.
um, trying to do ministry. I know we'll probably talk about that later, but I
Mm-hmm.
just seeing how they had to deal with people, and how people deal with them. So I'm like, man, you need a fire on somebody. Like, people crazy, man.
But you know, speaking of like, we're going to talk about that as well. But like growing up in church and having parents that are involved in church and then are pastors. You know, my background, my parents, mom was choir director, dad was a deacon, minister, ran the sound system. My grandfather is a bishop, pastor, and you know, people always think that you just live this life where like you're just stuck in the house. The only time you come outside is to go to school or church, and you know all of that. And it's not even the case. Like you could still be saved and be a Christian and live a normal life. Like you can let your kids play sports. You can let your kids go to the school dances or whatever. There's always going to be boundaries because of course you're looked at from the people of the church a little bit differently. Like they try to hold you up to a standard that's like unreachable by nobody by all means, you know what I'm saying? But people do that, for whatever reason. But at the same time, it's like people never knew that my grandpa was like a real sports fan. I tell people all the time, like my grandpa can tell me anything that happened like from the 50s, like in sports. Like he knows every athlete, you know what I'm saying? My grandpa is a sports fanatic. You know what I'm saying? And like just cool, laid down, like laid back. And people would be like, "Your grandpa's a bishop. Like y'all probably pray at home all the time. Like, or y'all walk in the house and he just starts riddling off scriptures. It's like, bro, nobody does that." You know what I'm saying? Nobody does that. We normal. You know what I'm saying? So, that's very very true. And I don't know where that comes from, but I guess that's just people's point of view of what they think. PKs and go through. I don't know.
Church, they have their own perspective and their own view of just Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at old movies, the church scene, like the
Mm-hmm.
church scene used to be trash in the movies, man. And I'm like, nobody plays the organ like that. The organ doesn't sound like that. Like it doesn't look like that. I think the coldest church scene I ever seen was in the Blues Brothers though. And I
That
was
was
like, okay,
cold.
they churchy. But other than that, all the other church like movies that doing spoofs on churches, it's like you guys got it wrong. Like
Even Tyler Perry's, he didn't had a couple of innies like
by the way, the way yeah, grind for sure.
Grimes, man. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, I guess that's just people's point of views of what they see and what they think that goes on in homes. Like, bro, my dad is not walking around with his Bible. Like, we have TVs in our home. We go skating. My parents let us play outside with the other kids in the neighborhood. I had a normal pretty much a normal growing up. The times where I couldn't do stuff is because I was doing crimes and I was acting up at school or whatever on punishment or did something in church at church and now I can't do certain things. But you know for the most part I had a normal life too. Like I don't.
Now that you are a Christian or a PK or whatever the case may be, most definitely the bar is set high,
Mhm.
and they automatically think you saved,
Mhm.
and that's not the case. And then it's kind of hard for uh, as a teenager and you're trying to fit in.
Mhm.
I think for me, I was able to fit in because I was just being me.
Mhm.
Um, okay, they say we was the baddest kids, and I try not to live up to it, but it's just like I hung with bad kids,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
um, have that X on your head. It is what it is, but sometimes I wish I could go backwards and do things a little differently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it comes with the territory, it comes with your journey,
Mhm.
how to I share my experiences with those that are younger than me, and
Mhm.
especially kids and teenagers and things of that nature, of how to navigate while living a Christian life or
Mhm.
how to be saved. And
Mhm.
you don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing.
Yep. Real quick, we're gonna take a pause right here for like a few seconds. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, it's Matt here. Now, I'm all about keeping things real and flavorful, whether it's in our conversations or in the kitchen. And speaking of flavor, I've got something special to share with you today. Southern Draw Seasoning, which is the sponsor of today's video. If you're like me and you love that down home Southern taste, then you're going to want to try this. Southern Draw is more than just a seasoning, it's like a taste of tradition in every sprinkle. Whether you're grilling up some chicken, roasting veggies, or even making a good old pot of gumbo, Southern Draw adds that perfect blend of spices to make your dishes sing. And the best part, it's made with all natural ingredients. So you can feel good about what you're feeding your family. No artificial stuff, just pure, authentic flavor. So why not bring a little Southern charm to your next meal? Head on over to southerndrawshop.com and use the code TMTP20 at checkout for 20% off of your first order. Trust me, once you try it, you'll never want to try any other seasonings again. Again, that's southerndrawshop.com and the code is TMTP20 for 20% off. Get ready to taste the South, y'all. All right, everybody, we back on the pod live with Matthew Taylor, joined by my guy John Thomas, man,
Yes, sir.
longtime friend, longtime big bro, um, man. So we was talking about, you talking about you was a hooper. Let's get into this Lakers convo real quick
Let's do it.
because
Let's do it.
you see what I got right here. This is
I see
my
my boy.
this is
I see
my goat.
KB.
Rest in peace. That's my goat right there. Um, so me and you talk all the time. We talk on IG almost every day, and um, we've been having this Lakers convo about uh Kobe, Mike, LeBron, or Mike, Kobe, LeBron, however you want to put it. What's your take right now with Bron playing with his son, man? How you feel about that?
I think it's dope in the sense of man, no, I don't think nobody's seen this in the NBA. Now
Mm-hmm.
we seen like father son combos in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in football, but King Griffey Jr. and Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a couple other combos in baseball, but basketball is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is that we always say that father time is always is undefeated, but he getting work right now. Brian is like in his 21st, like
Yeah.
21,
Yeah.
21 seasons. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, honestly, I don't like Bronny even in the NBA. I don't think he's ready for it,
Okay.
but
Okay. I'm glad you
it
said
is
that.
what it
Okay.
is. But everybody know that he's pulling them strings and he
For
made it
sure.
happen. Rich Paul made it happen.
For sure.
So
I'm not
I don't
mad
think
at
it
it.
was
I'm gonna be 100. I'm not mad at it, right? Because if I was in that position, I would probably. I got two boys, so if I was in that position, I probably would do the same thing.
yeah, I don't know nobody that wouldn't do that.
My whole
Uh,
thing though was like, I don't think he was ready, and I think he probably could have set himself up for like failure in the long run. I'm
Oh, for
thinking more
sure.
like future wise because no, first of all, no 55th pick has ever signed an 8 million 4 year guaranteed contract. Let's start with
That
that
has
first.
never happened. And
Never
it never
happened.
will happen.
It never will happen, right? And I feel like the Lakers being my team, they've always been my team, regardless of what those naysayers on Facebook talk about. Lakers have always been my team since day one. My grandfather actually took me to a Lakers game. Believe me or not, when the Staples Center first opened,
Okay.
we went to a Laker game, and my grandpa ended up getting us tickets in like the booths, like the boxes. It
Okay.
was just me and him, and bro, we were in like two or three boxes down. MJ was there, and he like waved out. My fondest memory is just seeing MJ waving out to the crowd, like they showed him on the jumbotron or whatever, and he was like waving out to the crowd. Like that's one of my fondest memories. I don't know how my grandpa ended up getting those tickets in the box. I don't know, but it was like it was like the Lakers' first. It was like their first or second season at the Staples Centers, bro. So like I go way way back. I remember
Got
when the Lakers won the 2000 championship. I begged my parents to take me to the parade, and I remember watching the parade. We had one of those floor box TVs. I remember watching the parade on that. Like, bro, I'm a Laker fan. Okay, always been, always will be. But when they got Brian, I was just like,
I
He's
mean,
coming
hey,
here. He's not gonna be focused on playing hoop, and he's gonna be focused on making movies, TV shows, doing his podcast, whatever. And I get it, setting himself up for his, his latter days, getting ready for retirement, all that. LA is the place to be, right? But I'm just like, man, like I guess I'm so used to this guy right here being so like that was like his number one focus, and being able to be like, if we lost, like you could tell it hurt him if we were losing. Through those times where we had losing seasons, bro was putting up 50 a game, but he but he still wanted to win. He wanted to win a chip. And I just don't feel like we don't have that sense of winning anymore. And that's where I have I can't stand my Lakers right now because I feel like we don't have like a winning attitude. Even though a 55th pick isn't going to make or break, probably wouldn't even make the team, right?
nah,
But I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like we could take this a little bit more serious, man.
they're not taking it serious. That's just what it is. They should have picked up a center like AD need to go to the forward, and he need to be in his natural position because he's not a center.
And don't let me get
Even
started
when
on
he went
AD.
over to Perry, like them centers was giving him some work, and
Hey,
I'm like, man, he needs some muscle milk and everything
but when
else,
he
man. He makes me
was,
nervous every
but
time
when
he
he,
hits the ground. I think he's gonna be injured. So
hey, but when he was playing the five though, in Paris, dude was killing.
he's a little more aggressive, but I like him at the four. Like we need a real deal center.
But he's coming down. He's on the back end of his career. Like
This
he's
is
about
true.
to he's about to go over that hill.
Decline.
He needs to get that post game right. Like
He got to get it right.
he got to get it right because, and I feel like by him moving to the four, it's not going to make him. It's not going to. He's not going to have a long career. He's not going to be able to stay in the league as long as if he were to put his back towards the basket. Even though the game has changed, like you got Jokic shooting threes and all that kind of stuff, but still, it's like you know, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that I think that the Lakers wanted AD to be the number one option,
Mm-hmm.
and he don't want it. He's not hungry enough. He
Yeah.
doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to be the number one.
Mm-hmm.
AD should be doing triple doubles every night almost, or at least a double double every night. There's no reason for LeBron to be playing the way he's playing. He needs to
Mm-hmm.
be preserved. He shouldn't be the number one option. And how he plays, he's never trying to be the number one option. And then he has to do what he has to do because Cash will not step it up.
I'm just, I'm just saying, like, I played, I hooped, and I see the game from a different point of view than a lot of like fans do. Cause I actually like I have friends that work for the NBA, and like I've actually played with an NBA, the player that's in the NBA right now. You know what I'm
Kawhi,
saying? So it's not like I haven't talked to him in forever, but it's like I have an insight on certain little things. Like I can see certain little things, and people be like, man, you're just a LeBron hater. I'm like, I'm not hating on LeBron. LeBron is going to be, he's top five, top three, wherever you want to put him at in your in your category or however you want to rank him. Right? He's in my top three. Right? I'm not hating on his game. Skill wise, he's not one of the best skilled players. Right? Not the
nah,
best shooter. The
nah.
dude has the most points of all time. Right? But it's just like I'm just so used to like the dog. Like I'm so used to that being a goat. Jordan was that way. Like
Mm.
Jordan is like in a whole different spectrum than anybody else, right? We can't
Yeah,
Jordan nobody's
cycle.
ever gonna touch Jordan, right?
Nah.
But it's just like, bro, I don't know. I'm not a LeBron hater, so I want to make that clear. I'm not a LeBron hater. I don't hate LeBron. I just hate that he on my team. That's all.
So look, this my take on LeBron. LeBron, I feel like he was I think scorned as a kid. What I mean by that is his coaches probably told him he would never make it to the NBA if he
Mm,
doesn't pass the ball.
mm,
He has always been a pass first person.
mm.
and then he'll get his buckets. But I feel like that's how has always been his issue. When it's come
Mm-hmm.
to clutch time, he makes the right basketball play.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if three people is on him, he's not shooting it.
Mm-hmm.
He will do the basketball play. Whereas others, they don't care if it's three or four people on them. They gonna jack it up,
Mm-hmm.
win or lose. LeBron will always make the right basketball play, and we get mad at him for doing the basketball play. It's like, bro, it's 3 seconds left. Why did you pass that ball to this wide open person?
Right, right.
Because that's what he's supposed to do. The
Right,
person's wide open and they miss the shot,
right,
or
right,
they make it.
right.
So I think that has been LeBron's Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 year where he was on monster mode,
Mm-hmm.
where his shooting percentage was like at 70%
Was that
when
that
he was in
Miami? Was
Miami.
that that Miami?
He was a
Bruh,
monster in
like his
Miami.
second year, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the Bron that everybody I think was scared of. That was
Mm-hmm.
gonna come out of nowhere. He was
Mm-hmm.
on beast mode for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and they made sure that they won that championship because that the previous year they didn't win it.
Mm-hmm.
He came back like on monster mode, but he's never been that killer. He has to be provoked, whereas Kobe, he's not being provoked. He had his own kill list. Jordan, like watching, I'm a Jordan fan. He's my goat.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watched The Last Dance, and this man is making up stories about people that didn't say anything to him, like he's sick in the head.
He's
Like
different.
he's different. Like I didn't like when you hear players like I never said anything bad about Jordan, but Jordan in his mind he makes up a story like that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
different type of mentality, and LeBron just he didn't have that mentality. His
But
mentality is always
it's
a
always
player.
been basketball first though for them.
Yeah,
Like it's always been basketball first and nothing else.
nothing else.
LeBron was like the first like mega star athlete that really like I mean Jordan had but Space Jam came at the end of his career, right?
Right.
Um but like LeBron has always been like that
He been off
outside what
TV.
he's been a businessman since he's came into the league. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And so um I think that kind of separates that and I think a lot of people that are on my side with it we're so much of like basketball fans to where we're like dude like if just imagine if Bron had Kobe's mentality
it'd be different.
with the size with just his athleticism bro
See, that's the thing too. Like LeBron, he doesn't have a bag, but he can get buckets.
he
Like
can
we
get
all know, he
buckets
can get buckets.
yeah
He can get to the rack anytime he wants to. And this is what frustrates us too, is because sometimes he'll settle for a jumper, and it's
oh
like,
my
bro,
god
you can score a layup
that
at
step
will.
back side three where he like looks at the ball and I'm like, oh my God. Here we go
He
again.
perfected it. He perfected it. Like everybody knows it's happening, and nobody's stopping it. That's the
When
bad
he
part
looks
about it.
down and he's dribbling, it's like,
You know what he's gonna
oh my
do.
God. We know what you about to do.
Yeah, I just think that even when he played in Paris this year, um, he was aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, I like this. Being aggressive. He's playing defense,
Mm-hmm.
like way more aggressive. And in my mind, I'm like, he need to save this energy for the
Mm-hmm.
season. Like we got
Mm-hmm.
82 games regular season, then the postseason,
Dude running
and
around, coming in.
he's
One
tripping.
thing I can't stand and one thing I was talking to my homies about is like, I can't stand when they say, oh, LeBron's here 6 hours before the game. Why? You're 40 years old.
Yeah, he
Why are
tripping.
you out there running bleachers and like putting up shots in the weight room? Bro, why? Now, mind you, he's in perfect shape. The dude probably only got 4 or 5% body fat, if
Body
that,
fat.
right? But it's like, bro, come on. And then we see the fatigue once the playoff starts. And like
Yep,
when the playoff starts, like when we get like second round, I'm like, he's using too much
he's
energy.
gassed.
He's gassed. But
Yeah,
oh, LeBron is at he's at the arena 5 hours before putting up shots. Like, for what? Like, dog, you need to be at the hotel getting as much rest. Get some massage work. Whatever. But it's like, come on, bro. That's my only thing about Brian, man. I think he's more, to me. He's more into like the look and like the media type look of it. You know,
Well, he in
then
the Laker legacy now. He
and
made
that makes
sure
it worse. And
he's
that
in the
makes
Laker
it
legacy.
worse. That makes it worse, bruh. So it's like now he's in LA, he's gonna do it 10 times more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He knows
yeah,
where the cameras are at all times.
absolutely.
He's a I don't even know what the word is for that. Like, but he's just I don't know. He's very marketable. We put it that way. He knows how to
That's why
market
he's
himself.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we're gonna leave that alone. We know you. But so before we let that go though, LeBron top. What's your top five?
Oh man, well look, RP to Bean,
Mm-hmm.
but
Nah, nope.
I
Don't say
can't
no
even say my
but.
top five. My top three is gonna be Jordan, Brian, then Kobe.
Okay.
Only and
Okay.
the only reason is I grew up a Kobe hater. Like I hated on Kobe.
But
Like
were
I
you a Laker fan?
now I wasn't no Laker fan.
Really?
Like
Growing up in
so you know
SoCal?
what? So let me go backwards. When I was growing up as a kid, I was a Laker fan, but I didn't realize that I had to make a choice when the Lakers had to play the Bulls because I was a Jordan fan.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I thought I was a Bulls fan, but I found out as I got older, I was really a Jordan fan.
Mm-hmm.
So when I made that decision, like I'm not going for the Lakers in this '91 championship,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's when my hate turned. Right then and there, I went dark, and I hated on the Lakers ever since then. Um, I just didn't like them. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like them. I watched the games, but I didn't like them. Uh, and so this is my journey when it comes to basketball. I don't even. It was always Jordan. When Jordan retired, I rocked with Pippen.
Okay.
Jordan came back, I was rocking with Jordan. But when he like really officially left, I was rocking with Pippen. When
Mm-hmm.
Pippen went to Houston, I was rocking with Houston. When he went
Okay.
to Portland,
Portland.
I was really rocking with Portland.
Yep. They
Man,
had a
that
squad.
that
They had a
team was
squad though.
turned
Yeah, they
up.
had a
I love that
squad.
team.
Yep.
So
Lakers beat them, by the way, in the
they did. They got Tim Doherty was on that on them games, bro.
yeah.
So it is what it is. But when I was rocking with Pippen in Portland, I fell in love with Rasheed. So
Oh
Rasheed is
yeah.
actually in my top five too.
Really?
Rasheed Wallace is my dude.
Really?
Ball don't lie. Like
Okay.
Rasheed is comedy. That was the dude that I followed. So I followed Rasheed to Atlanta for that one day, and then he went to Detroit.
Detroit.
Now I'm
Yep.
rocking with Detroit, and then Brian finally making it into the league, and somehow I started rooting for Boston because Rasheed went over there too. So
Oh yeah.
KG, Rondo, and all them, I was rocking with Boston. So anybody that I followed, they were on that particular team. Then I started talking about KG and like that whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
Only reason, and I rooted against Brian too when KG and them was having their run. But in my heart, I was like, Brian's my dude. Because once KG and them get traded,
Yeah.
I'm rocking with Brian for the remainder.
That's
And then
comedy.
after that, I started rocking with Brian. And then
That's
I couldn't believe it.
comedy.
I said, this
Okay.
dude went to the Lakers. When that happened, I was like, I can't believe this just happened. Like, so it was a combination of Kobe/Laker fans that hated Brian,
Okay.
and we all have to coexist
Yeah.
because
Now
we
we all
on the
have to
same team.
coexist. We're forced to coexist.
We're forced to coexist. We're forced to.
And one thing I hate too,
Honestly,
John, I hate that he actually won a championship. As much as
yeah,
we can say about the bubble championship, it is what it is. I feel the Lakers. I know people say that they were on track to win the championship anyway that year,
yeah.
but you also got to think. I think right before they shut down, wasn't AD hurt?
I
Somebody was
think
hurt.
he got hurt. Somebody had got hurt.
Somebody had got hurt, and then you had the playoffs, and we had an older team. So
Absolutely.
you had Rondo,
Dwight,
Dwight.
Rondo.
Like I don't know what we would have looked like in the playoffs if we would have kept playing that season without having that break and then going straight into the playoffs. Who knows what we could have been like, right? So a lot of people say, "Oh, we were on track to win the chip or whatever," but that's not guaranteed. But when we go in the bubble, it's like, okay, we are an older team. We can handle this. We ain't got guys trying to sneak out. We got
Nope.
mostly these guys are married, they're
Yep.
older, they're just focused on basketball. So,
Yeah.
they're in here really focused and locked in, right? And I feel like we had that advantage over all the
Everybody.
other teams in the NBA in that bubble.
Yeah.
So everything kind of worked out in our favor. So
I think even
we can
not
count the
only
bubble
that,
championship.
but that was the year Bean passed away. So it's like
Right.
it
It was
has to happen.
extra motivation.
They
Yeah.
had way more motivation to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen that
Mm-hmm.
year. Like they had to. Like it was one of those like you got to do this for Bean,
Right, 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 right.
and it worked out. I just hate that they didn't get to do a parade. They didn't get to really get celebrated because the world was shut down.
I
So that jump was
mean,
trash.
yeah,
But
I mean, it is
I
what it
mean,
is.
for Brian,
Come
this is my
outside, come
respect.
out the bubble and win another one. Then we can do the championship.
Man,
We can do the
they could have had a
parade
chance. I think this is my opinion. They should have kept Dwight. Dwight, even though he's crazy, like he's good to get you some rebounds. He's athletic.
for sure.
Like we needed that extra center, that extra body in the
JaVale too. We should have kept
JaVale too,
JaVale
man.
too.
They should
Kept
have
both
kept
of
him
them.
after
Yeah.
that bubble, and then they got rid of those vets like that. I
Mm-hmm.
just knew it wasn't a good look.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look at
Yeah.
all.
So top five, real quick, and then we'll move on. Top
All
five.
right.
You said
So
Mike.
I got Jordan, Brian, Kobe, Rashid. Ooh, who am I fifth? I don't know. I don't know if I have a fifth yet. I had to think about it.
Okay.
There's too many dope players out there.
Yeah.
But those
Yeah.
are gonna be my four right now.
I don't know. You're like the first person I've ever heard put Rasheed Wallace in your top five.
She is
But
my guy. And
basketball like hooper wise, bro was out there hooping in Air Force Ones, dog.
and people don't know that he can shoot with his left hand, like fluently,
Yeah, yeah.
like perfect form and everything. If Rashid wasn't Rashid, he'd be up there. Like
hmm Hooper wise, one of the best hoopers in the
he was one of
NBA.
the best hoopers.
Yeah,
If he would have really worked on his game,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
he could have been a problem. Like he could have gave Tim Duncan problems. Like Tim
Mm-hmm.
Duncan's fundamental. He can
Mm-hmm.
hoop. KG can hoop. Rashid is right there in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
he just hard headed, man. Like he just that's what I liked about him. He was just Rashid. He was
Yep.
comedy.
Yep. All right. So when we had these debates, when we going down the line, we have another debate. We now I know where you stand at when it comes to LeBron and all that. Yeah. Now I know where you stand. Hey, but getting back to the church, man, like, we grew up in church and like you had said previously before, one of your I don't want to call it like a turn off from like being a part of ministry and stuff like that is because you seen what your parents went through. And most of the time, like me as I got older and I got into church more and into ministry and stuff like that, and you start to see a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes. I think my generation, because I'm considered a millennial,
Me
my
too. I'm a
generation,
millennial.
okay, yeah, millennial. So our generation is like, we're like, a lot of us aren't in church. And if we are in church, we're turned off by being in the confines of like the four walls of the building. More so because of what we seen growing up, right?
Hmm.
And I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, millennials, we have seen everything. Like I remember the first I remember when 9/11 happened. I was in the 4th grade.
Hmm.
I was at school that day. Like I remember Hurricane Katrina. I was
Yep.
living in Mississippi with my dad at the time. We were living in Mississippi. I remember us being locked down in the house. Like I remember certain things like that we've gone through a lot and we've seen a lot, right? And just like what in our generation, like speak on like our generation as far as like church wise, like where do you think our generation kind of stands right now, especially with you being the youth leader of an organization. um you talk to youth and you are around a lot of youth a lot.
Mhm.
So speak on that, like what are you hearing from those young people in church and not in church?
Um, it's a mixture. So I deal with the ones that's in church that I come in contact with that I'm dealing with.
Hmm.
Most of them are looking for truth. I actually all the way around everybody's looking for truth,
Hmm.
but they want to know Jesus. They want to know the God of the Bible. They want to
Hmm.
know Him like for real, for real.
Right.
And they're not trying to. Um, they have issues with the traditions that the fathers and mothers bring.
Hmm.
What I mean by that, um, there's issues when it comes to clothing. It's issues when it comes to like the do's and the don'ts. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, where is that in the Bible? Because we're the
Hmm.
information generation. So now it's no longer do as I say. It's like,
Right.
nah, like I need you to explain to me why we do what we do.
Right.
And if you can't explain it, you're gonna have a hard time on your hand. And not being rebellious, it's just more
Right.
so of we want to have an understanding. They're looking for truth. They're trying to get an understanding. And if you can't get an understanding, it's like, I can't really rock with you. I
Right.
can't trust you because you're not gonna tell me the truth. And that's hard. And some of our mothers and fathers, they're trying to they're trying to connect with us.
Hmm.
So on the flip side, then we want to be rebels in a sense where
Hmm.
we really don't want structure.
Right.
And I always say that we're better together. Um, so there's some things that we need to learn from the past,
Hmm.
and the things that we're doing today, the older generation, they can learn from us as well. It's better for us to come together and have a real candid conversation.
Let me ask you this though, like not to cut you off, but
You good?
what where how can we bridge that gap? Because I'm in church, right? And the church that I go to is predominantly older. It's an older congregation. But they welcome the youth. Like they welcome the young people and the things that young people want to do. They kind of welcome that. Music wise, still
Get
trying to
them up
get
to
there.
date.
Trying to get there, brother. But as far as like, having young people participate, stuff like that, they want to see that. They want to, but what can, because I feel like there has to be like a common ground, right? Like when you're in a relationship with somebody, you always have to, there is some give and take. Every time,
Yeah,
every night we go out, it's not going to be what you want to eat or what you want to do. We got to come together and make some decisions together. And I see that a lot to where there's a lot of disconnect. And
yeah,
I see like a lot of churches that do have older crowds. Like I'll give you an example. Like my home church, there was a fall off of a lot of young people. Um, and it's a multitude of things. Pandemic, before the pandemic, just
yeah,
our generation of, just like you said, wanting to know that truth, finding the truth, right? Uh, you know, getting hip to like all of these man-made traditional things,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And it's like, come on now, like let's just come to church. Let us just come to church and be free, right?
Yeah,
So where do you think we can build that gap? And I feel like that's a part. I feel like our generation is going to be the generation that builds that gap. So where do you think, what can we do to make that gap, tighter?
I think that again it goes back to if we're bridging the gaps, like you said, the common ground. What's the common ground? Jesus
Mm-hmm.
is the common ground.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, let's go back to the blueprint. What is he talking about? What did he do in his ministry?
Mm-hmm.
If we truly follow his ministry, we will be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But because we get in his way, we bring chaos. We bring
Mm-hmm.
uh, disconnect. If we would get out of the way and actually follow the blueprint, we'll be just fine. But we have to have that we come to Jesus moment for real,
Mm-hmm.
and let's have a conversation outside of our man-made rules, our traditions. You got to get over, like, a long time with how we grew up. There was a time where women wearing pants was a sin,
Oh
and
man.
it's like,
Yeah.
like, how did we even get there? Like, it's not even in the Bible.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? It's
right,
like,
right.
what are we doing?
Right.
And we're taking scriptures out of context. And the crazy thing is, a couple verses down, it's talk about not mixing garments. So you got a silk tie with a cotton shirt on, saying women wearing pants is a sin,
And a 100% wool suit.
straight up. So it's like, you don't see the contradiction here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that don't work.
yeah. Right.
So it's like things that we have to, like, okay, let's go back to the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's relearn and unlearn some things that we learned, and so we can move forward. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is from the father's perspective, because I talked to a lot of older seasoned pastors,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a heart for young people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for our generation to reel them in, if you
Mm-hmm.
will,
Mm-hmm.
because they do have a heart for them. They got grandkids and great
Mm-hmm.
grandkids
Mm-hmm.
that, they want them to be saved. Like, it's a real thing, and they know. I mean, their time is winding down,
Right,
and
right.
so they want to see people saved. They want to see their family saved, and so there is a real urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and our young people need to understand that, like, yeah, they're not. We have to learn their ways, in a sense. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
mean no harm. They may come off a certain way, but
Mm-hmm.
know their intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Like hear their heart.
Right.
Like, hear and see. Like, they may come off a little harsh at times, and it's like, try to hear what they're saying. Like, take the meat, spit out the bone type situation. And then it comes to us where we have to be understanding. We have to be um, teachable,
Mm-hmm.
because again, we don't know it all,
Right.
and they see things that sometimes we don't see,
Right. Right.
and so we have to go back to the basics. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing, going back to the basics. uh the blueprint, Jesus ministry,
Mm-hmm.
knowing Bible stories,
Mm-hmm.
knowing about Elisha and Elijah, and how that relationship was, learning about Abraham, learning about Noah, Moses, and all these patriarchs, knowing and learning their history. I mean,
A
it
lot of
will
that,
it will help us.
a lot of that though comes from like a lot of the stuff that is no longer in church, right? Because we learned all that stuff in Sunday school.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know too many church. Well, I know there's churches that still do Sunday school, but
Hmm.
it's not like how it was
Well
when we
attended.
well attended. A lot of churches have moved Sunday school to like Wednesday, so it's like their Wednesday night school or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's where like we learned all that stuff. Like when I
Yeah.
grew up, my dad was my Sunday school teacher for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when my uncle Nate came up, that he was my Sunday school teacher.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't I feel like you are 100. You hit the nail right on the head. It's like we have to get back to the basic things and just knowing Jesus, like getting back to like knowing him and really
Knowing him.
diving
Yeah.
into like, okay, let's let's get away with some of these man-made tradition stuff, man, because at the end of the day
Straight up.
we have to do what we need to do to draw men in. And right now, like if I
It's,
walked into a church, I'm gonna be 100 with you, John. If I walked into a church and I don't see any young people, that's not the church I want to be in.
it's hard.
And I'm being 100 with you because it's like, not saying that every church needs just 100 young people or a massive amount of young people, but what are we doing to keep the thing going, like to keep this thing going? You know what I'm saying? What programs do
Hmm.
we have? Um what things can we implement to get young people in here?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working with at my church. Like we're trying to do different things. We do outreach and stuff like that,
Hmm.
food drives and all kind of stuff. But we're going to be implementing like a youth Bible study and certain things like that. When I had the chance to speak not too long ago, one of the young guys came up to me and was like, "Yo, thank you for just making it plain." Like
Yeah.
making what you talked about. Like I don't use big words, bro. I don't
Yeah.
be up there like I'm not a hooper. I'm not like, if it gets there, it gets there. You know what I'm
It gets
saying?
there.
But
Yeah.
I'm more of like I'm like a teacher in a sense to where I want the word of God to be I want the way I receive the word of God, I want that to be able to that's how I want to give it also,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to receive it plainly. So that's the way I want to teach it. I want to teach it plainly. And I think a lot of times the older generation, not saying that because we have giants, right? That we grew up on, that we stand on their shoulders, but it's just like we have to understand the times that we're in. And I think that's where the disconnect is not
Hmm.
knowing where we are in the times that we are in. Because if we realize that, then I feel like a lot of this disconnect, it wouldn't be. And then you got to look
Yeah.
at the churches that are connected, right?
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, they were able to figure something out. What is that formula? What is that? And let's figure it out. But a lot of times it's all about pride. It's about, oh, we've been doing this for 50 years this way. So we ain't,
Gotta
money
change it up
still
a little
coming
bit.
into the church, this and that, and so we don't need to switch up. But sometimes you need to switch things up.
Gotta change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, I use this analogy. We're fishers of men,
Mm-hmm.
and I know in the scripture Jesus used a net, but anybody that fishes, there's a different type of bait
Mm-hmm.
for all type of different fish. You can't catch the same fish with the same bait.
That's right.
So you gotta go to your toolbox, you gotta go to
Mm-hmm.
your bag, and you gotta figure out how to
Mm-hmm.
reach each generation, how to feed them a certain way, how you cast your net, how you cast your line to catch each generation. If you do it the same way, you're gonna catch one generation, but you're
Mm-hmm.
missing the others. So it's kind of hard that we have to make a balance in a sense. Then on the flip side too, you have a lot of churches that are filled with young people, but they're not rooted and grounded in the scriptures. They're not
Right.
rooted and grounded, and when something hits the fan, they're out,
Mm.
and that's because they're not really being fed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
Mm-hmm.
bad situation
Mm-hmm.
as well. I always say I learned this from Pastor Wendell Wright.
Oh man.
And he told me a long time ago, he said, you got to be rooted, you have to be grounded. He's like, you need to let the roots grow down
Mm.
in you
Mm.
and then allow the word to grow up in you. And
Mm-hmm.
he told me the reason why. He was like, when that wind start blowing, you're not just blowing away, but
Mm.
you're rooted. Like you have strength. You're, there's nothing to be able to shake you. You're
Mm.
like that palm tree, if you will. Where there's a lot of people in our generation, they're growing up, they're not growing down. And then
Mm.
when the storm come, they fade away.
Mm.
Jesus wasn't there for me. He like he didn't answer my prayer. And it's like when you have a true relationship with the Lord, He gonna tell you no at times.
Right. Right.
Everything gonna be yes. He's
Right.
not Santa Claus
Right.
and a genie in a bottle type situation. So it's tough in this generation because the endurance isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Mm-hmm.
we grew up, we were learning how to endure
Mm-hmm.
hardness as a good
Mm-hmm.
soldier.
Mm-hmm.
But this generation, like it's hard, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
You just said something. You talked about with how we grew up. We learned how to endure, and I think a lot of times that's another like turn off for a lot of young people, because a lot of times they try to relate endurance with struggling. Like you got to go through this to have just the strongest rooted. You got to be rooted, right? When you go through those things, because
uh,
we as Christians we struggle. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And it's like we have so many like young people that are just like it's they trying to get to this bag. A lot of young people don't even
Quick
know about like tithes and like stuff like that. And but that goes back to Sunday school.
Sunday
That goes
school.
back to there are certain traditional things that I feel like that need to stay, right? But all things don't need to stay. You know,
Absolutely.
and that's like I said, that just goes back to the times that we're in. The the other piece to it too, I think a lot of young people are turned away from the church aspect of it is the business side, right? I think the business side can make church whack in a sense. I was gonna throw that in there. I was gonna throw
You
that
good?
in there,
You
and it
good?
just came to me right now because that we could talk. We could touch on that a little bit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that I think the business side makes it whack in a sense of like it takes away from the realness, right? I seen this thing. I seen this thing on TikTok. This girl said that she had got kicked out of church because and they gave her tithe check back. She had paid tithes, right? She's a tither, whatever. And she had wrote a letter to the church and she wanted to borrow some money. I guess she was like on a hard shit, had like something going on, needed to pay rent or something, right? And the church turned her down. It was like, can't, blah, 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 blah. So she gets mad. She goes on social media, makes this big old rant, whatever, tags the church,
Yeah,
all this stuff. So everybody is seeing it, right?
yeah.
So the church sends her a letter. It basically says like you're no longer welcome here. You're causing too much problems. Plus, they gave her back. They wrote her a check from the tithes that she had. Like I guess whatever the last Sunday that she had was there. They wrote a check, bro,
Go on, take it back.
and put the check in the envelope with the letter. I think the business side, now that we're older, like like just I've seen so many things where pastors have stolen money from churches, pastors misuse the funds, deacons, bro, misuse the funds, bro. Like
Hmm.
I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day and they were telling me some stuff and I'm like, whoa, like the deacon was doing what? Like that's crazy. That's wild, right? What can you speak on that? Like what do you have to say about that?
I think that church in anything there's gonna be some business that needs to be taken care of.
Mhm. Mhm.
And um, if you're in the church, if you're a member of the church, you have every right to know where the money is going.
Mhm.
At my home church and even at FPC, like they do reviews quarterly,
Right.
and you should be able to know where your contribution is going. We even get contributions for tax purposes at the
Mhm.
end of the year
Mhm.
to
Yep.
file our taxes.
Right.
But churches always have church business meetings, and they're not on. They should never be on Sunday mornings.
Mhm.
They have them on
Oh.
Bible studies. You know
Oh
what I'm
my god.
saying, or whatever case may be. Church meeting, his church business meeting. You get a letter and you go on about your business. That's how some most churches with integrity would run.
Mhm.
But you have some out here they some shysters and they out here not taking care of business, and it's unfortunate. Um, and it can cause calamity. It can cause some damage to the people.
But it
Uh,
goes back to like how you were saying like we're the information generation, right? So
mm-hmm.
it's like we see certain things and a lot of people in our generation we're entrepreneurs, we're inventors, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this platform that we're on right now invented by millennials, right?
Yeah,
So it kind of goes back to like doing it certain ways how traditionally it's been done versus how it needs to really be done business wise. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And I think, like I said, it's not every church runs different, every ministry runs different, but like you said, there needs to be some type of um dialogue. Like you should be able to know what's going on at your church, instead of
Absolutely.
like
I,
knowing once everything falls apart.
I believe every church should have bylaws, and if you become a member, here's a packet. This is what we believe. X,
Hmm.
Y, and Z, and you're not getting caught off guard by
Hmm.
anything
Hmm.
because you got all the information up front. Like before you join here, read up on this. This is what we
Hmm.
are. This is who we are. Like that kind of stops any type of confusion that may come in the future.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, some folks just don't read, so
do you
some
do
weird stuff
you
happens.
Me and you have had this conversation. We went back and forth for probably a couple weeks with this conversation. But and I think we came to a common ground, right? We're
Yeah,
homies, we're friends. We ain't never
yeah,
gonna fall out over no weird stuff.
nah.
But do you think that church can be whack? Like, do you think that there are some aspects of the church where it can be better?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like there's a lot that we can do much better. Um,
And we're talking about the black church, just for those who are listening, the predominantly black churches, because that's what we are part of. But you know, all churches are, but we're just talking about the more traditional churches, how we grew up, you know.
yeah, there's a lot of things that can be done much better as
Hmm.
far as like how services are
They
going,
flow. Hmm.
how they flow. It could be
Hmm.
much better.
If
Not
you
even
still
just
having 2.5 hour services right now in 2024, I don't know, y'all. I don't know if it's too many
you
praise
can.
breaks, if it's what's going
I don't know
on.
what's going on, man. Like yeah, there's a lot of things that can be changed, and then there's some things that can be that we should keep.
Hmm. For sure.
Um, but we want to be effective. We want
Hmm.
we want our services to be effective. Like there's just certain people that don't need to be on the microphone.
Hmm.
Like it should be a set order, and
Hmm.
people should follow order, follow
Hmm.
instructions, and it would just make things a lot easier. But if you're just getting up there, you don't know what you're doing, what you're supposed to be saying. Like it's just kind of like cringe moments.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, a lot of unnecessary stuff needs to be cut down, and then stuff that's necessary need to be amped up a little bit more. I
Hmm.
think the focus should always be Christ.
Right.
He not even think I know Jesus should be the center of everything,
Hmm.
and we build around Christ. And this is going back to the blueprint. How did Jesus flow? How did he move? How did he handle situations?
Hmm.
You know, that's just how it should be. Um, I feel like that we are getting a little bit better. But then there is another church that's out there that's just running wild,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, they are getting most of the press.
Hmm.
So you see number madness on social media
Hmm.
because Satan is who he is. He's
Hmm.
going to advertise
For
the
sure.
madness that goes on in some of our churches,
For sure.
and it gives us I don't want to say a black eye, but it's like, see, that's why I don't go to church. It's like, no, you don't go to church because you don't want to.
Yeah, it puts everybody in the same box, right?
You
People
can't
look
put
at
me in
it.
that
Yeah,
box.
yeah, yeah.
Like everybody, like every church is not a mega church. Like growing
Hmm.
up before the pandemic, to make everybody had a mega church, and
Hmm.
every pastor had a Benz and all this other
Hmm.
madness. It's like, nah, man, that ain't reality.
Hmm.
Like reality is most of your churches in the states, I would say,
Hmm.
it's like 30, 50 member churches.
Hmm.
Could be 100 members.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like everything ain't no, they ain't no mega churches like that. That is a
Hmm.
low end
Hmm.
as it comes to a percentage. So they will always look at the bigger names, and then they gonna just chop the bigger names up. They can't do no wrong. If anything
Hmm.
happens, they gonna give him the blues.
Right.
Um, but it's like, what about your local churches around the corner? Like, did you even go over there? Did you even go
Hmm.
see about them? Of course not.
Hmm.
Um, it's just the way of the world. The Bible is unfolding. It is what it is. We can't stop it. there's going to be a great falling away.
Mm-hmm.
Not from church, but from the faith.
Right.
Because there's churches that are still packed, that are eating sugar and candy and thinking that they're on their way to heaven. It's like, nah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not getting any nourishment, no
Right,
nothing. Like
right,
it's
right.
it's bad like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have our dear brother that's church hurt. You got the
Mm-hmm.
church hurts that are out there, and then they give their messages. So it's like it's so much information, so
Mm-hmm.
many messages coming from different people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, hold on, let's stop it because we're not saying the same thing. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have the same mind as the Bible talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to that. If we can get back to that and get back to the basics, like you're saying, like you ain't use big words, but it's just like, let's make this gospel simple
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that everybody can understand. And I think if we get to that place, we will be much better. But there's so many different doctrines, there's so many different beliefs, and it's like, how did we get here when it's
Mm-hmm.
always been one way?
I have a question for you. You bring up church hurt, right? I've been affected by church hurt. I have felt it. I've felt it firsthand, right? I know what it feels
Mm-hmm.
like.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I feel like I was so involved in the church at one point to where when I wasn't as involved or when I was going through personal things and I stepped away, I didn't get hit up by none of my church homies, especially the ones that I worked with. Like the
Yeah.
ones that I worked with and we were very, very close, it was like crickets, right? And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that made the hurt
That
even
hurts even
hurt
more.
more. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's a real thing because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody that has experienced church hurt and that is I'm not going to say on a path of like going back to church or whatever, but it what do you say to that person that's on a different trajectory and has a different outlook on the church, right?
Yeah. I
Cuz when
got
we
you.
talk about our dear brother, you know, I feel like because of what he went through personally, yeah, he was Grimes, he did innies, but but we know that. But at the same time, he does have a valid point
Oh
in
yeah.
certain aspects, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, yeah, you can be church hurt, you can be this, you can be that, but at the same time, it's like we still are lovers, we're believers of Christ.
Yeah.
So what do you say to that person that is trying to navigate that?
I feel like I mean, everybody's experienced. I don't want to say everybody. I say that if you've been in church, you're gonna get hurt. Like
Yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah,
Again, I'm growing up as a PK,
right,
so I've seen stuff behind the scenes. It's like I don't want no parts of this.
right, right.
Like God, why you calling me to ministry? I don't want no parts of this. Like I will throw hands with somebody. Like it's stuff like that because of I mean just how people are. So
Yeah,
we always have to remind ourselves that people are going to be people. Um, they need to be saved just like I need to be saved.
right.
And I always remind people that the person that got hurt the most, as when we talk about church hurts, is Christ Himself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say Christ Himself, I'm talking about our sins,
Mm-hmm.
like that we committed,
Mm-hmm.
that we probably did yesterday or even today.
Right.
Like we had to go back to the cross. He literally was beaten, spit on, plucking his beard out. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's nails in his hands, wrist, his feet. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's embarrassed. Like they got him naked, and I mean, the Passion of Christ, the movie doesn't even compare to what
Right.
he really
Right.
went through.
Right.
Anybody that's ever seen that movie, like I can only see it once. I can't
I
see it no
can't
more
see
other
it again.
times.
Yeah, me
It's
neither.
like one of
Yeah.
the things that would wear you out.
Yeah.
I'm saying all that to say this. It's like if he can endure, if he can go through all of that, he died.
Mm-hmm.
Literally
Mm-hmm.
died and got up from the grave. But it's like if he can go through all that, and still love us, man,
Mm-hmm.
we have hope.
Right.
Straight
Right.
up.
Right.
Like, if he can go through all of that and still say, I love you and I want to restore you, I want to revive you, and that's just going to happen. And the cold part is the Jesus, the very one that put that sword in his side, he died for that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He died for the person that pulled on his beard. He died for the person that spit on him,
Mm-hmm.
that mocked him. He
Mm-hmm.
died for that person. The cold part is, I know some people say, well, I ain't Jesus. You right. You not. But he has given us his spirit.
Mm-hmm.
He has given us the blueprint. He has given us how to operate in those tough moments, in those
Mm-hmm.
times. We share his inflictions. We share his hurt. He relates to us.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I endured it all. I
Mm-hmm.
was tempted in all places, and yet without sin.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds us to, uh, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I got your back. I understand you. We have to go back to that place of God understands us.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, in our failures, because there's been times where I'm like, I don't know how you can call me when you know I got some hangups. I've been messed up. I done
Mm-hmm.
done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about after being saved and I
Right.
mess up and I fall. And I didn't even made excuses to God. And then he hit me back with the, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb.
Right. Right.
Like I already knew. So get up, repent, and get back in the race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those that had struggled with church hurt, um, and dealing with people, like, look at it in different ways. They might not be your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Some might be your enemies, but God can prepare a table before you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to be blessed. You have to be restored. You have to be renewed and revived. Like God has ordained you to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And while you have breath in your body, or you still breathing, you have an opportunity to get it right with Him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when we get it right with Him, we can actually go back to our brothers that we may have got it wrong with,
Mm-hmm.
or they may have got it wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that will come to you like, you know what, I didn't handle you right. That's my bad.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they didn't come back to you yet, you can still forgive them. Like, you know
Yeah.
what, God forgave me, I'm gonna forgive you. And it could be a time where they're gonna come back to you like, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't handle you correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And God will make opportunities and ways to do so. So I mean, in conclusion, I'm going back to, we all been hurt,
I
and
think we lost you.
oh,
Your video. There you go.
oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay,
Yep.
okay, there you go. My bad. Um, we've been there. There's people that have been there,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see how God restored them and strengthened them. And your feelings is valid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, pain hurt, and
Mm-hmm.
people grieve differently. They handle the shame or whatever the case, whatever the fallout was. Like, people handle it differently. But always remember that you can still hold on to God.
Yep.
He knows how to mend the broken hearts. He knows how to mend spirits. Like, that's when you really gotta be like, you know what, God, it's just me and you right now.
Yep.
Cause I need your strength
Mm-hmm.
to get back into the congregation, to get back into it. Like Peter, he really denied Jesus
3
3 times.
times.
He denied him 3 times, but it
Mm-hmm.
was just like, and Jesus already knew he was going to do it,
Yep.
but he's like, look, I already prayed for you,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're converted, we're going to strengthen the brothers. We're going to strengthen you. Um, I feel like, and I want to speak to something that you said too.
Mm-hmm.
When we have brothers and sisters that get out of pocket or whatever the case may be, that is most definitely not the time to really, like, you can tell them the truth. You ain't
Mm-hmm.
got to beat them up, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, be there for them, talk to them, send a text, whatever the case may be. Like, stay connected to them, but that's not the time for you to disappear, go ghost on them,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
that's when they're really gonna need you. And I promise you, this is my last time saying it.
No, you good.
Uh, like, even with David had Nathan, and Nathan was like, "Hey man, you the one.
Mm-hmm.
You did Annie's, you
Mm-hmm.
did Grimes,"
Mm-hmm.
and David received it.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes too, we have to have a heart of receiving, like, you know what, I was out of pocket, and
Mm-hmm.
he repented.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if they would have responded like how some of us respond, like, but look at you, like
Mm-hmm.
you did this, like
Mm-hmm.
he didn't do that, he didn't hit him with the you who are you to judge me? He didn't do none of that. He's like, you know what, I got to get my life together.
I had this conversation with somebody a couple years ago on Facebook, a group of people actually, about that topic of like, how do you approach someone, or how do you, in a sense, when your brother or sister is doing something wrong or out of pocket, how do you approach that person, and how do you um stay connected with that person, right? And don't let allow them to get astray, because a lot of times when I was going through my stuff, people would try to pull me to the side and be like, you did it.
On your case.
But
Yeah.
just, you forgot you were 25, 26, 27 at 1.2. I've heard the stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget where we come from, or
Yeah.
what has transpired in the past, because we all have had a past. We all have gone through things, whether it be good or bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when in church, especially when people are trying to minister and try to help others, we forget where we come from,
We
and
should
what
never
and
forget.
what and what we have gone through. And I think that goes back to that disconnect, from
Yeah.
generation to generation, because we have so many people that are just like pointing the finger, like, y'all need to do this, you need to do that. You did one thing my grandfather told me when I first started ministering. He was saying, when you minister, don't always stick on the yous when you're
Mm-hmm.
preaching. Say we.
You got to
Say,
include yourself.
you have to include yourself, um because you don't want to ostracize no one, or make someone feel like you're just preaching to them
Yeah.
and not preaching the gospel to them, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I
um
always include myself in my
yes,
messages
yeah, you
all
have
day.
to, and I, like, literally, when I hear preachers do that, I turn it off. Like, I can't stand it, bro, like, because, like, it just gives like a bad vibe. Like, it's just like, are you better than me because you haven't gone through maybe the exact thing that I've gone through? Or
Yeah.
are you better than me because you have gone through what I've gone through, and you're now this totally different individual, you know? Um, but going back to what you were saying, was like, you have to know when to say something, how to approach the person. It's just like a coach. Like, I used to coach basketball, high school. I coached at San G in San Bernardino, bro.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
Kids from the hood. Like, Highland, bruh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Highland is not the place. Whew. Like,
Nope.
but I couldn't coach every kid the same, right? I couldn't
Nah.
approach me speaking to them the same. I had to talk to each individual different. And a lot of times, some of those kids, I was the only male figure that they've ever even taken instruction from, right?
Yeah.
So I had to come with a totally different way anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the issues that we deal with in our generation, is like, we have to learn, or the older generation, they have to learn how to communicate. If I was able to get through what I was going through with my church hurt by removing myself and literally moving states away. Like, I was able to find myself again being by myself. I
Mm-hmm.
don't got too many homies out here. People that I hang
Yeah.
out with are people that I've met since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the places I go, the people I communicate with on a daily basis, the guys that I run into, coworkers and stuff. It's like, I had to get away. The church that I go to, totally different type of church than I would ever go to in California when I lived there.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that there was something wrong with my church, but I grew up in that
Yeah. Nah,
church.
I get it.
So when you grow up in church, sometimes you're always looking at one point of view of something, and you're not able to give yourself a chance to see things outside of that.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to kind of remove myself and kind of put myself in a different position. And now I have a totally different outlook on church. I have a different outlook than most, right? I'm not saying that I'm so far left that I'm just like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
church, I
no,
can't stand church, blah, 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 church is whack, whatever. I'm not
yeah,
saying that, but I'm just saying that sometimes you have to put yourself in a different, almost like in a different environment. Remove yourself so you can learn about yourself, put your focus back on God, right? Because that's the first thing you got to do is
yeah,
you have to trust in God and know that God is going to get you through whatever you're going through. And at the end of the day, you'll be all right. That's how I was
yeah.
able to get through my church hurt. You
I
know,
think relationship is important,
yes,
and
for
and
sure.
oh, how you speak to someone. So like it's gonna be hard for you to win anybody if you don't have a relationship with
For
that person.
sure. For sure.
So there's a scripture in James where it talks about taming your tongue
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how, but before that it talks about how we're able to train animals.
Mhm.
It's crazy
Mhm.
that we can cause a dog to sit and to get Shamu to come up out of the water and do a flip and stuff,
Mhm.
but we have a hard time taming our tongue.
Right.
We have to be able to, number one, with the animals, in order to get them and train them, you have to have a relationship with them. And then they rock with you.
Mhm.
We have to be able to tame our tongue. We have to have a relationship with this person and let them know where your intent and where you're coming from.
Mhm.
Somebody that loves you, you already gonna know that they're coming from a good place
Mhm.
versus somebody that you really ain't got a relationship with and they on your head.
But let
It's
me
different.
but let me say this though, even when you do have that relationship with that person, that relationship may not always be healthy, right?
That too.
Like
The relationship got to be healthy.
you can have a relationship with somebody, but if there's an imbalance in the relationship, because sometimes we have those friends and those friendships where we have those friends in our friend group that are more outgoing. They're going to tell you what's on their mind. They're going to speak their mind, right? They're not going to hold their tongue. We all have those type of friends in our friend group, right? Then you
Yeah,
have the ones in your friend group that are going to be more compassionate than others. That are
yeah,
going to, look at the situation like, you know what? Let me give this brother some grace. Let me give this
yeah,
sister some grace
yeah.
because of the situation. And then you have those friends that are like, I'm gonna rock with you. Whatever you, we in this
Whatever you
together.
want.
Whatever
Yeah,
you going through, you know what? We in this together. I'm rock with you. But I think healthy relationships is what helps that. And I feel
yeah.
like a lot of times you may think that you have a healthy bro. Like when I tell you, I don't like during that period of my life, me and you weren't like talking like on a daily like we do now. But like, man, you would be surprised, bro. Some of the dudes that I was like connected with, man,
Mm-hmm.
like crickets, crickets.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
and you would never expect that. You would never expect that. But again, like I said, you always think about the healthy relate. You got to think about also what type of relationship is it?
yeah. Absolutely.
Um, we've been going for a while, bro. We almost 2 hours in. But I want to say this. First of all, man, I thank you for coming on. I appreciate you for squeezing me into your schedule, bro, and really, really being able to sit down and chop it up. Like this is dope. I think a lot of people are gonna love this episode.
Yeah,
Before we my last question to you is we go back to like how you said when you were growing up as a PK, you were just like, man, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting into this. Now that you're 40, right? You know, Pops is probably gonna one day retire. Mom's is gonna retire. Any succession plans? Any
I don't
do you
know,
see
bro.
yourself as a pastor? Do you think God has called you to like do that? Does your wife is she first lady? What are we what are,
Bro, look, hey. So I'll be honest with you. So I already know that the call pastoring is on me.
Uh-huh.
Like it's there, and I've been running for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pastor that wanted me to take over his church in North Carolina, and I did. I declined it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I gave every excuse in the book why I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you have any
my, you
regrets
know,
on? Do you have any regrets on that?
nah,
No.
uh-uh.
Okay.
Like I couldn't see myself living in North Carolina anyway. So nah, no regrets. But me
I
and my
couldn't
dad,
see you moving out of Cali, and you've been in
it's
AZ,
true.
so
Yeah,
I
no, I get
yeah,
it.
cause
Uh,
you a SoCal dude, man. You move out through and through.
through and through, bro. Yeah. Nah, I couldn't do it. Me and my dad, we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that brought it to my attention, and I was like, I don't know. I gave him every excuse to, but I know that it's on me, and no, as far as my wife, nah, she's most definitely not first lady doing none of that. Like she'll sit in the back of the church, which
Right.
is cool. Like that's just what she do.
Mm-hmm.
But prayerfully, we'll see what happens. Not, no, I'm not jumping in, running too soon or anything like that. But
Okay.
I just know that it's most definitely. I mean, ministry in itself is serious business, and I just want to make sure that I get everything in order in a
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it is needed as far as ministry. So I know God's been opening doors for me to speak
Mm-hmm.
at different churches and different topics, and it's like weird to me in a
Mm-hmm.
sense
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
don't no knock to none of my peers, but I'm not like none of my peers. You don't see flyers of me
Mm-hmm.
plastered every
You're not gonna put out
day.
your monthly itinerary.
Nah,
You're
I'm
not
not
gonna
doing
see
none
that.
of that. Oh yeah, I'm not doing none of that. And the cold part is, I get in trouble in the sense they be like, "You preaching here?" It's like, "Oh yeah," I don't tell
Yeah,
nobody.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of rare that I would share or I would share the day of or something weird like that
Right, right.
because it's like,
Yeah,
bro,
that's not who you are.
that's not me.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Where again, some of my peers they love it. They
Mm-hmm.
love the glamour and the glitz, and it's like this is bloody work, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is something serious.
We
And
didn't.
when I
We
look,
didn't. We go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just
Go ahead.
saying like the apostles they died horrible deaths doing this, man. Like this is a death sentence in a sense, bro. Like I just look at it differently.
We've
That's all I
lost.
can.
We've lost some giants and pioneers just this year alone. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah. Recently. So you're definitely right. We didn't get a chance to talk about some of the peers that are closer to your age group, closer to your they're millennials, I guess.
yeah.
If you hear them talk, you don't think that they're millennials, but we didn't get a chance to talk about them. So we might have to swing this
Do a
this
part two.
part two for sure.
I'm
Cause
with
we
it.
gotta dive into the pastor talk.
Hey, for sure. We most definitely gonna do a part two on that because I got a lot to say about it.
I know you do. I know you do. Man, I appreciate you, dog. I appreciate you, you family, man.
Likewise.
Everybody who's listening, please go. You're on Facebook, John Thomas. Follow
Mm-hmm.
this man. He always posting some good stuff. Always talking some good stuff. If you ever need some advice, he's one of those where you can go to and he'll put you up on game and really, really talk to you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate
Appreciate
our friendship, brother.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, we have a Instagram friendship, man, and we
all day. All day.
talking all day, man. And I just appreciate it, man. Is there anything else you want to share? You got anything going on? Anything coming up with Shield of Faith or anything like that?
The only I guess in a couple of weeks, speaking at a men's conference, but it's
Okay.
out here in Phoenix,
Okay.
at First Pentecostal Church, and then a youth summit after that in October, I
Okay.
think it is. So I got a couple of things coming up. As far as the Shield, um, we're planning for our Yaya for next year.
Okay.
So
Where's it gonna be at? Y'all dropped the location yet?
not yet. I
Okay.
haven't. I'm waiting to see which way I'm gonna go, but it's more likely gonna be in California. Just not sure exactly where.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
And we're gonna talk about that too, because we're gonna talk about like planning and stuff like that. We're gonna swing this back, man, and like,
For
a few months of like planning conventions and all that kind of stuff. Like I have some insight on that. I know you do.
Yeah,
That can help others who are in that space of like planning conventions and youth conferences and things like that. And you've been
absolutely.
doing it for a while, so I know you got some do's and don'ts and some and some budget ideas for everybody, man. So
Yeah, man.
definitely, we're going to definitely swing back and do
Oops.
this. You went
Yeah,
away. Oh, there you go. We're going to do a part 2 for sure, man. I appreciate you, brother. Like I said, please go John Thomas on Facebook. Follow him. Definitely reach out if you guys young, especially young people, man. This is a good brother where I can give you guys some solid advice. Also, please follow the podcast, the Matt Taylor Podcast, on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This episode, we had a sponsor for this episode, so please follow that sponsor. All the information is going to be in the description on this video, underneath this video. So please like, comment, and share this video with everyone. This is a good brother right here. He dropped some gems on us and
my
gave
man.
us some good information, man. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. We're definitely going to do a part 2 soon, maybe in a
For
few months or
sure.
so. And I appreciate you, man. And thank you before I go. Thank you to my producer Cohen and sound engineer Ari. Appreciate you guys for helping us with this podcast. And yeah, we out, man. See y'all. Thank you. Peace.
Hey.